Liberals voted against today's Bloc Québécois motion that's calling on the feds to endorse its private members' bill to expand a 10% increase to old age security for seniors between 65 and 74. The Bloc had threatened the Trudeau government with an ultimatum, saying no support would mean the party would start having conversations with other parties to try and bring down the government. But the Liberals say passing this bill this way would set a bad precedent. The Bloc, however, seems to be standing firm on their deadline. So did the chance of an election just go up? Let's bring in the front bench to talk about that. Mohammed Ali is a Liberal strategist and vice president at Crestview Strategy. Jamie Ellerton is a conservative strategist and the founding partner of Canaptus Limited. Former interim NDP national director Carl Bélanger is here. There he is. He's in the middle there. He's now the president of Traction Strategies. And next to him, that's Marika Walsh. She's a senior political reporter with the Globe and Mail. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. Jamie, we wish you were here in studio with us. Marika, I'll start with you. Interesting turn of events today. Do you think it does change the possibility of an election?
I think that what we saw from the Liberals was buying time. They're not ready to say how they feel about this motion. They came up with a process excuse to explain their decision today. It wasn't on the substance of it. And so the Bloc certainly is getting more sort of boisterous or more, ruffling its feathers around an election. But, they're still the NDP. So the Bloc don't get to play as much of a game as Yves-François Blanchet was trying to show that he could play. He's not the only decider in this case, and the Liberals still see options, I think.
He was, though, Carl, kind of upping the ante today, and same with his deputy House Leader on our program tonight, saying, it's not October 29th. Basically, it's, few more days, and they're going to be able to tell whether there's any possibility of their ultimatum being met, and they're willing to start those conversations with opposition parties ASAP.
Yeah, and it's smart to do that because you want to increase the pressure on the government to deliver. You can't wait on the 28th to decide to have those conversations. You need to have the ball rolling now. So the key will be the NDP. Right now, the NDP has no real demands. I mean, everything that they have in play is in the past and the ball is rolling, but there's no new demands. So the Bloc have those two clear demands. Today is an indication that the government was not really prepared to play ball to the same extent that the Bloc would like them to play. So the question is, how quickly does the Bloc want to move on these motions and convince the NDP really to jump on ship with Pierre Poilievre and the Bloc Québécois to bring down the government?
I mean, Carl's identified, Mohammed, the key, right? The Bloc essentially has, yes, they're talking to other opposition. We know where the other opposition parties stand. It's the NDP they're going to have to convince to actually force an election. What do you think the chances of that are?
I think they're quite low. I mean, the NDP have proven that they don't actually follow through on some of these strategic opportunities they have to take down the government. Honestly, with the Bloc, as well as sort of Blanchet said, he's still giving room to negotiate in time for the Liberals to consider. And I think the Liberals have suggested that as much as well, that, look, we're willing to talk. It's a lot of money. We need to be responsible and thoughtful about how we do this. So there's still time. We're only October 2nd. There's still 27 days until that artificial deadline that the Bloc created. But the Liberals have leverage because the NDP, as Carl has shared, there are still demands that they're working on, pharmacare and other things. So I think we're okay for now, but there's still negotiations that have to take place.
Yeah, it is a very different tactic, though, Jamie, that the Bloc and the NDP have utilized. Like Carl said, the NDP has said nothing about what its expectations for any kind of support would be, whereas the Bloc has been incredibly specific. What do you think that sort of forecasts for us in the coming weeks?
Yeah, I think it kind of shows just how much of a bluster the Jagmeet Singh stunt was earlier this year when he ripped up the agreement. I think everyone expects the NDP to ultimately continue to support this government and keep this parliament going. But I think the Bloc's quite effectively kind of championed themselves as obviously the party for Quebec, and they're only talking to Quebec. And so I think they get to carry more of the message and set the agenda there for their future prospects. But for the NDP, it's now awkward because we know they don't want to go to an election. The Conservatives are the only one who've consistently said they want to go fast. And they also don't want to be seen to negotiate and kind of keeping this parliament going because they really fundamentally have an existential problem of differentiating themselves from the Liberal brand. And so ultimately we'll have to see where Jagmeet Singh lies down on this one.
So take out your crystal ball, Marika. I asked Minister Gould, the government House Leader, point blank, are you going to prorogue? Because the speculation in this wonderfully gossipy town is that is a greater possibility than it might have been even a week ago. Do you think there's a chance of that, despite her unequivocal no?
I think there is a chance of it, but I think just like the NDP don't seem to do the things to save themselves or to push their strategic advantage, the Liberals also sometimes don't. I think prorogation is this thing that Conservatives have been talking about since the NDP ripped up the deal, exactly because they see this as like an out to get rid of these opposition days and to just get some relief. But I think it's, they are juggling things. If they prorogue, then they lose any buy-in with the opposition parties, right? How do they prorogue and then convince them to come back in Parliament and not fall? So I think that is a challenge. I think it is also a mistake for the Liberals to just take for granted that the NDP don't have strategic game, because I remember Liberals telling me there's no way the NDP would leapfrog them. Yeah. Now there's a few polls showing they're neck and neck or already ahead of them in English Canada, a few more polls like that, and the NDP would be wise to press their advantage and not wait to see if Justin Trudeau takes a walk in the snow.
Yeah, as a lover of democracy and asking politicians questions, obviously, Carl, I'm not thrilled at the idea of prorogation, but if I were a strategist, pardon me, it seems like the one thing the Liberals have in their pocket to stave off an election. I don't think they can for sure count on the NDP.
It's not even the Liberals that has it in their pocket. It's Justin Trudeau.
Yeah.
He holds that card. He doesn't need to consult with Karina Gold, doesn't need to consult with anyone. He just needs to talk to Governor General and prorogue. He can do that. It's been done in the past to save governments. It could be done again. Now, the question is, if he were to prorogue, would it be to buy himself some more time to get back on track, or to pass the torch to someone else? And if that's someone else, then is this a new, whole different game? Are the parties going to negotiate with that new leader? The NPD, the Bloc, could see opportunities there, which could prolong the life of this government.
What do you think the chances of prorogation are, Mohammed?
I think right now that hasn't been decided seriously internally. I think they have to consider, to your points, Carl, that there are bills on the table. They have to consider what they have working with them. If they can get through the fall and into Christmas, I think they will take that advantage and then reconsider what they want to do in January. But this pharmacare legislation, are the NDP going to be happy about that? The Liberals have really put hard on there. They got to pass another budget bill as well from 2024. So there's a lot of things, that investment tax credits that they got to think about it. There's a lot of snowballing effect that can take place by programs. So it's not that easy. Now, they can learn from Stephen Harper, who did it twice, and to save his keister when he needed to do it. But I think they haven't decided that strategically just yet. I think they're holding their cards until Christmas to really plan out what 2025 should look like. Do
you think the timeline is all the way to Christmas, or might they make that decision perhaps post-October 29th, Jamie?
I really don't think it makes much of a difference. I think they're all tactics and no strategy right now, Vassy. If they had a strategy, they would have spent the summer actually turning the ship around and launched in the fall with an ad blitz, a really focused campaign-style effort of what they were doing. But instead, this government continues to kind of be in this awkward caretaker issues management mode. So if it gets to the point where they bungle the politics so bad and misread perhaps the Bloc and the NDP are doing, then I guess the prorogations, they're getting a jail free card to buy some time. But to suggest there's any kind of strategy here is just kind of baffling. Because frankly, they've been operating rudderless now for quite some time.
Okay, well, we're going to leave it on that note.